Hello, YouTube. Happy New Year. Can you believe it's 2021? Wow. I'm super excited, actually. I really think it's going to be a great year. I'm not going to say it's not going to be, erratic and have some ups and downs, but it's going to be overall a great year. I was thinking about 2020, and I've watched, as you know, a lot of content and a lot of, what the best card was and my best break and my best this and a lot of my's, right? I wanted to talk about, in my opinion, the three boom, boom, boom. Let me do some of that stuff. Boom, boom. The three biggest impacts on the hobby in 2020. And I'll explain what I mean by impacts. The three biggest events, people, person. In fact, maybe that's it. Is it people? No, I think it's events because two of them are people. One of them is actually kind of an event. Let me explain. Let me start. Starting with the number one of biggest impacts in the hobby. I'm not ranking these, but one of the number one, and I'm ranking this basically based on the timing, is the Gary V impact. Now, if you're watching this and you don't agree with me on this, I want you to take a second and I want you to think about a world where Gary V didn't exist. Okay? Where Gary V didn't tell millions of people years ago, a year or two ago, hey, sports cards are important. But more importantly, he told people during the whole pandemic lockdown, whatever, in the spring, get your side hustle on. Get your side hustle on. And he had hinted to cards and he did some card stuff. He was also pitching, garage sales and a bunch of other stuff, lemonade stands for all I know. But he was very, very persuasive in influencing and impacting the hobby, right? So, for example, when I look at content creators that I've been following, a large, and again, I don't want to use the word majority, but a large number of them were influenced specifically by Gary Vee. They started their channel because of Gary Vee, right? They said in interviews, they've said it, they say it, whatever. Gary Vee had an impact on them doing their content, right? It also had a huge impact on the whole retail raider world, okay? I've been in the hobby for years. Every year people chase Prism, basketball, and retail. That's realistic. It happens. This year, we went from a time where retail was around in January, February to you can't find retail in November, December. Now, why was that? Retail raiders. And again, I'm not saying these in a bad way. I'm a retail raider myself. But again, inspired by Gary Vee's, hey, go out and get your hustle on, people started looking at this going, hey, I can make money just by flipping boxes of cards. That's a no-brainer. Is that bad for the hobby? Personally, I don't think so. It's part of the market, and the market needs to adapt. It's Wild West-like. But again, flippers, retail raiders, very much influenced by Gary Vee. Now, did Gary Vee tell you, did he tell them to come over? No. Maybe he foresaw that they were coming in the hobby because he saw the sneakerheads or whatever it was. But hey, if you remove Gary Vee, that voice, that message doesn't echo like it did. So Gary Vee had a profound impact on the hobby. Think of the celebrity impact. Right, Gary Vee, in fact, Adam Lefkoe will tell you that the two of them had dinner one night, and most of the dinner was around sports cards. So think about that. You guys have been out to dinner with another couple, and you're talking about sports or politics or I don't know, whatever gets you going. But how many of you had a conversation about sports cards? You see what I'm saying? So Gary Vee talked to Adam Lefkoe for hours about sports cards. Adam Lefkoe has gone on and talked to other people about hours about sports cards. It's blossomed. Now, are they directly responsible for all the celebrities? No. No, but if you look at now it's become more mainstream. There's been more articles in 2020 from CNBC to, your local news, whatever. There's more coverage of sports cards than ever, well, I wouldn't say ever before, but ever in the last 10 years, easily. And again, how much that started with, again, that's celebrity spotlight. That's celebrity focus of attention. I'm going to go back and, again, say Gary Vee. So I can't stress the impact Gary Vee has had on the hobby. And I continue to think he will. In fact, his brother, right, made his investment in Star Stock. Just the name Vanderchuck in Star Stock, in my opinion, will have an impact on sports cards and the hobby. The number two, and again, I'm not ranking these, but the number two biggest impact on the hobby, in my opinion, in 2020, and I mean, in fairness, he actually was around before. Well, he wasn't around before, but he started impacting the hobby probably earlier. And that is Jeff Wilson at Sports Card Investor. Now, let me first of all again say I'm not affiliate or pushing the market movers tool in this video. I don't push market movers. I'll give you videos. I'll give you answers and questions. I like the tool. But when you think about whether you love him or hate him, and this is probably let me just say that right now. When I said Jeff Wilson, how many of you said, oh, yeah, Ziggy, that makes sense? Or how many of you said, oh, Jeff Wilson, right? Because Jeff has been a very polarizing person in the hobby. And before Jeff, the hobby was a bunch of everybody's all nice and friendly, but there's a lot of animosity and drama underneath, right? These are people dealing and selling. They're all in business, okay? So don't think it was all candy. But Jeff came in, and again, early 2019. But Jeff really mainstreamed the word investor. Okay, now I look for your debates. I'm sure somebody say, "Well, Frank talked about it this year, and Bill talked about that year." The only person I would say I could give more credit to in that is probably Breaker Culture and Ty, because they started the Prism ladder. But again, if I look at what Jeff's sports card investor impact was, making an investor kind of taking the investment word in sports cards and not making it a dirty word, I think is a big impact. Right before that, everybody had a little selling of it, but we didn't talk about it. Right? It's kind of like, oh, it's I don't know, it's kind of a taboo. But he definitely mainstreamed the word. And again, I look for your comments. Love to hear your debate. The other big impact that Jeff had was market movers. Okay. Market movers, again, love it or hate it, I think it's a great tool. And I'll say this, it's not a great tool because it's just giving me historical information on eBay. That's not why it's a great tool. It's a great tool for all the other features it has in it. And again, this is not a commercial for market movers. But I say that because before market movers, we had access to data, right? You could go to eBay, you go to 130 Point, whatever it is. In fact, you could just watch comps in your Facebook group, or you could ask a friend. There was ways to get value. You could check eBay. But market movers really, it really, I can't explain this. It validated this is not an in the closet hobby anymore. Here's a software provider. When you think about Market Mover Sits, it's a software subscription service who came in and has made money off of this market. He's built a staff. He's built a team. He does a lot for the community. They did the virtual in July. And again, love him or hate him, I think Jeff's done a lot of positive things for the community. I'll say this again. I've said it before. One thing I really applaud Jeff for is the Facebook group, which I am an admin for in the Facebook community. Sports Card Investor is an open forum for learning about sports cards. It's not a forum for pitching you on market movers, right? People talk about investment ideas. They'll ask questions about stuff. But it really is a great place to meet people, promote stuff about yourself. It's not a commercial-driven place. I don't come there doing commercials, but it's been a great community. I applaud him for doing that. And he's done that in other communities. His Discord is probably one of the most popular Discords in the hobby, right? If you're not in his Discord, you need to get in there. And I'll even say this. Jeff started with a membership program and the subscription to market movers. He moved away from the membership model, and now he only is a software provider doing the market movers. I will say, though, his membership, I'm not going to say memberships didn't exist before him, but it definitely started a fire in the membership community. You know how many Patreon channels there are out there? How many memberships? Hey, join me. I'll give you tips. I'll give you this. And again, I'm not here to criticize those, but he definitely made those more mainstream, right? Because people look to think, well, he's doing it, I'll do it. If he's doing it, I applaud him for moving away from it because I'm not a fan of membership subscriptions. I'm just skeptical. But again, that's a different topic. And again, right now, like I said, if you look at Jeff, made investor a very, very popular term. Okay, created a platform which is a software solution for sports cards, and it does a lot. It's not just about giving me historical data of what's on eBay, right? The ratios, the alerting, the graphing, the set searching. There's so many valuable things about the product. Okay, I will say this. Another impact that Jeff has had is he's exposed the dark side of the hobby, right? The dark collector, the envy of the hobby, the people who get angry, who are upset about the changes, who and some people say push them out, but I would say this: there's definitely a collector versus investor atmosphere in 2020. Where that goes, I don't know, because most collectors will admit that they probably sell something to help support their collecting addiction, right? It's like sports cards are like a self-supporting high. It's like you can grow your own marijuana plant and I guess sell that, right? Just giving you an example. Don't use that as a good one, but you understand. It's a self-sustaining drug. Lastly, let me just talk about some of the guests that Sports Card Investors had, right? There's been numerous guests on his channel over the year. From other channels, from shows, dealers. But some of them that I will say I think are important to kind of mention. He had StarStock CEO on there in the summer. Now, I know he had Investacard on there. He had StarStock on there. I think he had CompC. But StarStock, if you look at their platform and where they are exiting the year, and they've only been around for about 6 months as far as a platform, they're going to have a profound impact on where we see 2021. I'm not giving him credit for Star Stock, but I will say this: if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have seen Star Stock. I think his promotions in the beginning that Star Stock did gave Star Stock a great audience. And the fact it was designed towards an investment community would not have happened if Jeff hadn't created that community, right? So my point is, had Jeff not come around and started that energy in March about, hey, investing, hey, sports cards, tracking them on market movers, I don't know if Star Stock wouldn't have seen the investment opportunity there. And again, this is my assumptions, my perception, but Star Stock was a guest. The eBay guest over the summer and eBay guest this in December were very impactful. First of all, I didn't even know eBay was paying attention to the sports car community, and the fact that he has that relation, that communication, has been huge, right? And there's been some changes. Love him or hate him, eBay's aware. They're making changes. Things are happening, and I think that's great. And again, no one else was bringing that voice to the hobby before Jeff. And I'll even say this: again, look at the shows that I love out there today. Like I love Sports Cards Live, right? Jeremy's show, big fan of his show. I'm not saying he was inspired by Gary Vee or by Sports Card Investor, but would the environment have been right for him to do his show had Gary Vee and Sports Card Investor not been there to fertilize the ground? Do you see what I'm saying? I think that's an important thing. And even the collector community, right? There's collectors out there who've been around for years, who've had pages for years. Tell me your subscriber count didn't blow up this year because more eyes were on the hobby because of people like Gary Vee and Jeff from Sports Card Investor bringing that. So, last real quickly, I want to mention guest on Sports Card Investor, Chris from Card Ladder, was on there about 6 weeks before he launched a competing solution. I say that for two reasons. I want to remind everybody that Chris was on Jeff's show a few weeks before he launches a competing solution. But that competing solution does one thing that's very important. It validated the market. If Jeff had just made market movers and maybe it lasted, maybe it didn't, who knows? The fact that Card Ladder came out has validated that market. And the fact that we're waiting for other solutions to enter the market, I think is important, right? Because again, I think Chris even said he got 500 subscribers from watching from Market Movers. He even says too in one of his interviews, and this is why I watch all the content, that he was inspired during COVID to build Card Ladder. Well, do you think he was sitting around looking at Jeff's Market Movers and didn't realize, hey man, I can build one of these too? Because I'll tell you, I thought the same thing when I saw Market Movers. My first thought was, I could build one of those too. Not that I'm a programmer, but I know programmers and I understand software. And I was like, this is a great idea. I could do that too. A lot of reasons why I didn't or couldn't or whatever. But I just think that's interesting that, again, validated the market for why we have that. Okay, third. Thank you very much for lasting this long, guys. I really do appreciate it. Third, PSA and grading. And I'm going to say that because PSA's acquisition here in the last quarter is monumental. It's big. It's big because somebody convinced somebody that they're worth $700 million. Now, before that happened, something else triggered that. Right now, this is a little more difficult to explain, but if I look at 2020, you got to look at the grading. Oh, damn it. I just lost my power on my light. What the hell happened there? There we go. Sorry, guys. We're going to keep going. No edits. Okay. Grading existed, but PSA, SGC really, and BGS, because of the backlog, God damn it. Can you see my notes? I think my thumb's gonna run out. Okay. Okay, we're gonna go like this. PSA and the rise to PSA BGS. I think there was a study by VentureClear that during the peak, BGS looked like it was gaining market share on PSA. Right? SGC came out and announced they were going to start grading. And at one point over this whole 2020 COVID, it looked like there was an opportunity for there to be real movement in grading, right? And I think that's important because it also opened up the market for what is going to be in 2021 CSG. Okay, so you're going to have 4 players. But it's hard to not look back before this. Okay, grading was gaining momentum, but what happened in 2020 is that, again, if I look back to Gary Vee, if I look back to Sports Card Investor and them talking about the investment side, and Gary Vee saying, if you can't get this card, go get this card. And it made these cards go up in rapid value because you have all these new people coming into the hobby and still a relatively limited supply of merchandise. Because of that, okay, card grading became a must, and people started grading by the mass. Now, here's another important point to make, okay? Whether you love it or hate it, grading or not, right? Grading has made it increased the value of base cards, which has increased the value of boxes, which has increased the value of breaks. The whole rush on breaks and the whole value of wax has all been because what's supporting that is if I can open up a box and I can pull 2 or 3 base cards out of that and grade them, and those base cards will sell for $100. Again, think about that. If I can grade 2 cards and get $100 out of each card, I can get a lot of return on that small blaster box, whatever it is. I'm giving you just a poor example, but that money that was created by grading base cards, right, which was again stoked by the other people I talked about, is what's been the rise of this grading frenzy, right? And if you look at what's happening, here's my last correlation here. Look at auctions and the rise of auctions, right? I almost thought about making auctions a big point of 2020, but when I thought about it, auctions would not have existed if it wasn't for graded cards. Graded cards put this value on cards. It also gave scarcity with pop reports. It didn't exist, right? The reason that these old cards are valuable is not because we don't know how many there are, but we can look at pop counts and see how many of this great one there are. So there's only 10 10s in the world. Is it likely that more 10s are going to come out? Probably not, right? So that popularity, the pop reports, the grading gave the rise of all these massive auctions. Okay, think about this. The trout that broke the record, almost $4 million. It's a Beckett graded slab. Beckett graded slab, not PSA. PSA has the greatest value in like your Lucas and your Giannis and all those other things. But the biggest card graded in value is a BGS. Here's another great thing to think about. Jordan, right? Jordan, the Jordan special, the rise of Jordan, the whole 9 yards. The number one most expensive card in a Jordan, I think still is an SGC 10. Now, I know there's some auctions going on in PSA 10s, but again, you got to put SGC there on the map. SGC Gold 10s and PSA 10s of Jordans are breaking records every day. So, that's it. Forgive my lighting problems. I hope that you were able to stick through there and I didn't mess anything up too badly. I just want to again remind you of the 3 biggest impacts on the hobby in 2020. Gary Vee, Jeff Wilson, Sports Card Investor, and PSA and the grading craze. I hope that makes sense. I'd love to get your comments, your feedback. I'm really looking forward to 2021. A lot more content coming, including a new live series I'm hoping to launch this weekend on Sunday. Thank you very much. Have a great day. Stay safe and stay healthy.